Hello, welcome to CIO Leadership Live Australia. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editorial Director for Foundry in Australia and New Zealand. And my guest today is Melanie Evans, the Chief Information Officer at Ventia. Welcome to the podcast, Melanie. Appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks, Kathy. It's lovely to be here.
And the last time we saw each other was at the CIO 50 Awards, where you and the team took out the win in the Team of the Year award in the talent category. So huge congratulations to you and the team. How are you doing after that?
Oh, thank you. It was such a fabulous night. We all got dressed up and it was a real highlight, to be honest. I think when you called out our name, the team, we were surprised but overjoyed as well. So it was a great night.
Excellent. Yeah, great vibes in the room that night. So listen, would really love to hear a bit more about your career. How did you get your start in IT? And tell us what have been some of the highlights so far.
Well, Kathy, I didn't come up in the traditional way in technology. So I actually started my career in marketing, and I've got a master's of marketing. And I sort of found my sweet spot as I was going through my career in change management. So I did various different roles in product, change management, and sort of explored different parts of the organisation. And it was great working at a company like Telstra at the time, where you did have those opportunities. So I found that sweet spot in change. I really loved that. And it was actually after I came back on maternity leave, I was sort of working through what was next. And someone said to me, you should go into technology. And I'm like, but I don't think I know enough about technology. And obviously in product development, there's lots of focus on tech, but you've got a tech lead. And I said, I'm not really sure about that. So I went and had the conversation, and it was a wonderful conversation with this leader. And we were in a room, it was about an hour. We're doing this great whiteboard. And then at the end of the conversation, she said to me, oh, actually, we're really looking for someone technical. And I went, oh, okay, well, clearly that's not me. Best of luck with the role. And off I went. And 2 weeks later, she contacted me and said, why haven't you applied? And I said, well, because you told me you wanted someone technical. Anyway, she gave me my start, and I started in strategy and architecture, which was a really great place to start because I was able to apply practically business elements of strategy, apply that to more capabilities and outcomes, and then, really looking at technology from that perspective. And at the time, there was a huge gap in executives understanding, bringing technical people into the room. I was able to work with the technical people, understand how it related to business outcomes, and then describe that. And so really that was my start, and working in the business. And then I worked in consulting for many years as well, really bringing those skills from a consulting perspective.
And that's all led you to become CIO at Ventia. So for those that don't know about the organization, can you tell us a bit more about its mission and purpose and how you and the team support that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ventia is one of Australia and New Zealand's largest infrastructure services providers. And actually, I think it's probably one of those brands that you'll hear the name now and you'll see Kathy Ventia trucks driving around everywhere and you'll see our signage. But it is one of those kind of classic, really unknown brands because we work behind the scenes, so to speak. So we manage assets as if they're our own. So think about whether it's a tunnel, whether it's telecommunications infrastructure, we manage those assets for many, many years and have those long-term contracts in place. In terms of our mission, a really important factor for us is safety. So obviously working with things like mobile plant and doing that heavy machinery. Sometimes we're working on rigs. And safety is really our license to operate, and it's our number one brand promise, and it's really, really important to us. So there's a heavy focus on safety, and certainly from a technology perspective, we've been investing in that area and trialing different things. And then more broadly, customer service excellence. So if you think about what we do, we really focus on customer service excellence, and there's kind of a couple of pillars under that where we focus around sustainability and innovation, and that really kind of brings it all to life for Ventia and the clients that we work with.
So take us through then some of the achievements of the team in recent years, apart from, of course, the win at the CIO 50.
Look, I actually, fortunately or unfortunately, first day walked into a challenge around cyber, and I spent the few months dealing with that. And, I guess an achievement in terms of the way the team handled that, and also on reflection, the investments in capabilities post that. So really pulling together the team and investing in the capabilities of the team was sort of a key focus area for us. And a huge achievement because kind of fast forwarding a year later, we had the CrowdStrike incident, and it was literally exactly a year later in July. And we actually were able to manage that really successfully in terms of it not really being noticed. So we're very quickly able to establish the teams, establish the communications, get our business stakeholders engaged, and it really worked like a machine. And I think the investment that we've made around people, process, technology, focusing on our demand and supply procedures in technology has really made a big difference in terms of how we operate. So to me, a significant achievement in moving forward the development and capabilities of the team, and bringing in people, but also working with people who have extensive knowledge within the team as well, and building trust and relationships in the business. So a big achievement in terms of uplifting our technology delivery and practices, our methods and standards, I would say is a big one, Kathy. Then also a big investment in our culture. So we've really worked to help the team understand their roles. So we worked on basics. So we started to work through, there's been changes in the organisation. How do we make sure you've got clarity so that when you come to work every day, you're really clear on your priorities, and we help the team prioritise. And then also we've invested in training, which has helped the team and it helped them prioritise to also attend that training and made it a key part of their development program. And then we supported them wellbeing. And I think that's made a massive difference because we've invested in wellbeing specifically to support them in everything that they're doing every day. And I think bringing that broader context to the team's really, really important around, we come to work to do a great job every day, but there are obviously other things in life that is happening, and it's how do we help people really bring that all together so that they can feel well and energised every day. And we've really worked hard at doing that.
You're also leading multiple projects, even in Australia and New Zealand, across things like AI, security, and digital solutions. So how do you prioritize and ensure alignment when you have such a broad portfolio?
Well, that's a challenge, Kathy. It's definitely a challenge, but I think it's also what I say to the team, it's an opportunity. So obviously a key focus for us is ensuring that it's customer service excellence. That's the focus, and that means operational technology. We're always on. So we're always providing services to our clients and our teams internally. So that's really important. So a big focus for me is to ensure that we've got those processes and methods, and we're working to the highest standards at all times with those. And so that's always a priority. When it comes to working through where we might invest in the program, where we might innovate, we take a really open book approach. So instead of, me deciding, actually, I want to invest in this area, we run a demand management process, and we essentially have our group execs come to that. And at the moment, we do that every week. And it gives people the opportunity to work through, well, this has come in. Is that really what we want to focus? This is what it's going to take. And I do that weekly so that we have time to reprioritise so that the team aren't being inefficient. So if I'm kind of pulling them in and out of things as things come in, it's not really efficient for the team, but also it doesn't get us the best outcome. So I would say the way that we prioritise is really by working with the business and really in that partnering way.
So just digging into that just a bit further then, Mel, how are you leveraging things like AI and data to drive innovation at your organization?
Kathy, I'd say, look, we're at the beginning of our journey with AI. And I'd say that because we started with developing an AI strategy as part of our broader digital strategy. And we knew that we wanted to invest in AI, but we took a multi-partnering approach. So we've worked with different technology partners to deliver AI capabilities. We've done that deliberately. That's been a deliberate strategy because we want to understand what works best for our business. And we wanted to try different capabilities. So we've also worked through a build or buy sort of thinking and strategy. So where we might consume capabilities from our software partners versus where we might invest in capabilities for competitive advantage. We've also been trialling capabilities from a safety perspective because, as I mentioned earlier, it's really important to Ventia. So for us, investing in an area of safety and being able to prevent any sort of incident is really important to us. And we're using those capabilities to drive training outcomes and better visibility of what's happening on the ground. And we're seeing really good results from that. So, and in parallel, I'd say, Kathy, what's been really important to us is making sure we've got the right governance in place, making sure we've got a responsible AI governance framework, that we're setting up the people, knowledge and investment internally, that we're communicating with leaders and also the board, and them having confidence that we've got those in place and that we're making decisions around data and how we might use that data that's done in a responsible way. So I'd say we're trialing different AI capabilities, but we're doing it in a slow and sort of steady pace to learn, but also then linking that back in with the broader strategy.
And you spoke there about partnering for some of those initiatives. So how do you decide who you're going to partner with and what? What do you look for when you're assessing, whether it's an MSP or a vendor? What do you look for when you're assessing them?
Well, we've got a partners leader in our team. So one of the things that I did, I do believe in partnering. I think that you should work closely with your partners because to me, they're not just a vendor, they're a partner. So anyone that we're working with, to get the best out of the relationship, I think you need to spend some time to work through, well, what is it that they're trying to achieve? What is it that we are trying to achieve as a business, and how do we work together to get mutually beneficial outcomes? So we run workshops with our partners often. So, every quarter we're doing different workshops, whether it's focused on innovation, or it might just be a governance session. But during that, we look for opportunities where we might look at their roadmap, look at our roadmap, bring that together and have conversations about where we might work together. So I'd say we make decisions through doing those working sessions and then evaluating what might work for us based on a business need in terms of, the timing of that. So, yeah, I think it's a collaborative approach, Kathy, in terms of how we make those decisions. But I think I'm really grateful, actually. Everyone that we've worked with has really, come to us with open arms and really, really invested. So I'm really grateful for the partners and what we've been able to achieve in such a short space of time.
And you spoke about earlier, having that cyber incident, day one or week one of your role. So talk us through, I guess, with your marketing background and communication skills, how do you manage a high pressure situation like that, whether it's an outage or a cyber incident? And how do you ensure that your team remains focused on those broader business outcomes when there is so much going on?
Yes. I would say probably differently if it wasn't day one for me. I think the biggest challenge for me was just not having those relationships that I have today. So I think the biggest benefit that you can have in working through a crisis or a challenge is you've already got established relationships. So I didn't have that in the first challenge that we had. So what I had to do was lead with building confidence and trust. So being really honest with with the team and talking to them about what was happening, what our plan was, communicating. Like I would say, number one, communication, being open and honest. And for me, I was really focused on business outcomes. So I didn't get too technical, and probably beneficial that I didn't actually know the technology landscape in the amount of detail that I know today, but I focused on outcomes. So for example, one of the things that we needed to make sure that we did was actually we need to pay people. So that was a business outcome. So we focused on that, and then we mapped out, well, how are we going to do that? And what if? So what were the scenarios and what were the plans behind how we were going to continue to do that, no matter what we were faced with from a technology perspective? So I would say, in terms of managing that, it was keeping my stakeholders up to date. It was making sure I was managing the executive and their board and giving them timely updates. It was working through how we communicate with customers, and also the digital and the cyber networks that are out there. And then also making sure keeping the team engaged, because in those situations, I've got to tell you, the amount that people give of their personal self to make sure that they can continue to try and help and just resolve it is absolutely amazing. And I've never seen so much of people just wanting to personally give, to the point where I was, literally taking people down and putting them into taxis to go home, because, I needed to help and also role model that you need to go home, you need to get some sleep. So really supporting the team as well, as much as I could, to make sure that they could be their best. And I would always go back to communication and just being honest. And I think we've learnt from that as well, because, we're much more structured now in how we do that, because we probably over-communicated or learnt that we communicated in some examples. But definitely number one of everything is just getting that communication right.
What are your leadership values then, Mel, and how do they shape your approach to work overall?
So, Kathy, my values are really centered around courage and kindness, and I'm very true to those. Sometimes too true to them, I would say, and I definitely role model them. So I'm often given feedback that I fight really hard for digital, and I'm always trying to speak up and support the team. And I think I do find the courage to have hard conversations, but I do that in a fair and kind way, because I think if you're not having those tough conversations or leaning into those, that actually you're not being a kind leader, because if people don't know and you're not being honest about it, how can we possibly move forward? So very much focused on kindness in terms of in the approach that I take, because I feel that that's the best way to get an outcome that both parties are happy with. So I think that's really reflected in my leadership.
And how do you maintain that balance then when you are trying to be kind and compassionate? But, there are tough decisions that have to be made, especially, with such a fast-paced industry. So how do you maintain that balance of being compassionate, but also, dealing with the tough stuff?
Recently, it's funny you asked, but recently I had a series of months of coaching around increasing kind of the focus on our project management discipline and how we'd engage the business and how we would give those timely updates. And I remember being really clear, so providing that clarity, sending through emails, having those engagement sessions, doing all the one-on-ones, and I still couldn't get the right outcome. And I had to change the focus and become really tough, but I did it in a really fair way. So when I got the team together, I kind of said, look, we've been doing this for a while now. and we're not getting the right outcome. And I don't feel that we're moving forward as a leadership team. So we agreed and put in a social contract, which was a really, really great way that we all signed and agreed to, and made sure we agreed with the wording. And then we also agreed on some key KPIs and agreed on things from this point forward that we would and wouldn't do. And for me, it was a significant move forward. So from moving from sort of coaching into we've got to move a different direction, and it's going to be tough and it's hard, and I had to make that tough call, but it made a massive difference. And so we pushed down that path, but I also put supports in place. So every day we did a stand-up. We're still doing those stand-ups. I think the team really like it. So the stand-up has moved from yes, we go through the key things that are potentially going to be an escalation or an area that we need to talk about, but actually it's a really great way just to connect every single day. So we do a check-in each day, and I think that's made a huge difference. So I've kind of kept my balance, even though I was tough. I think what I do is I put supports in place and role model the same behaviours so that it's a positive outcome that we get to.
So the well-being of your team clearly is really important to you and the rest of your leadership team. So talk to us about, that approach to digital well-being, how it ties into that overall culture that you have at Ventia, and what are, I guess, the benefits that you've seen in terms of engagement or retention.
Yeah, absolutely. Wellbeing has been a key focus of mine. It's a bit of a personal passion, I would say, as well. So I'm the sponsor of our mental health initiatives here at Ventia, and also from a personal perspective, I've had challenges in my own family that I can reflect on, and I've been very open and transparent about that as well, because sharing those stories often helps others when they're in similar situations. And I'd say what was the catalyst of why did we invest and what we did, Kathy, was really around IT very, very prone to burnout because people do work long hours, operational technology is always on. They're hard jobs, and I'm not saying comparatively, other jobs I know are hard, but particularly in technology, it's hard, and it's consistent. It can be relentless, and so one of the things that we worked through early on with the team is that we put in the basics around making sure they were clear around what they were expected to do. But what we quickly realised is that actually they don't have the right balance or the supports in place to help them really have clear boundaries between their work and their personal life, to be able to set reasonable expectations around how they manage personal versus work. So we started by just doing some workshops, and I hired an innovation and wellbeing manager, and he's great, and he did this in a previous life, and he came in and we started to do workshops with the team, and we focused on things like our superpowers. So often we focus on the things we need to improve and work on about ourselves, but we actually don't often talk about the things that we're good at. So doing these superpower workshops were really impactful for the team because they all started talking about it. So what's your superpower? How can we work together on that? And so that created a lot of energy. We did workshops around energy. So we focused on how do you manage your energy, not your time. So what gives you energy? What doesn't give you energy? How do you put in bookends to manage what doesn't give you energy? How do you put in place methods for yourself, because it's all different, everyone's different, to help you every single day. If you kind of wake up, you don't have the energy, how do you put in place something? What's the routine that you might follow? Do you go for a walk so that you're feeling better and you're able to focus? And in reality, many of us, based on our busy lives, are facing into that often. And people don't really talk about it. So we made it a conversation. We put in kind of the tools and the supports. We put it front of mind with our teams. And then we also invested in technology. So we put in a mobile coach, an AI tool, to help the team really baseline where they were at, and then to put in goals. And then the AI coach really was to help them to stay true to that. So each day, that conversational, prompting you, and also learning. So it has videos, and they're very short. So it's 2 or 3 minutes. Pop the video on. Yep. Okay. Let me think about that today. How do I make a difference in that perspective? So it's been a big focus, and I think it has made a big difference to the team and the wellbeing across the board.
And of course, another factor in having a great culture and making people feel like they belong is that approach to having a more equitable and inclusive workplace. So what kind of steps have you taken to, I guess, promote diversity and inclusion, particularly in the digital and technology teams, when it is an area that has suffered in the past from being, very monoculture? What are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say, I came in and there wasn't a lot of diversity in the team. And, it was a big focus from the outset of mine to bring in a diverse mix of talent. And reason being, as you get a diverse thinking, you get better teaming, you have better conversations. So I've been really focused on attracting talent, but similar to my experiences. So bringing in experience that is technical, but then also bringing in experience from a business lens that can be adapted in a technology team. So as an example, in our partners role, you don't need to be super technical, but you need to understand how to bring together relationships, governance, commercials in a contract, and then working with the technology teams around what innovations may look like, and how we might work with our partners. But that kind of spans across marketing skill sets, communication skill sets, stakeholder management, change management. So I focused on bringing a combination of non-traditional sort of tech backgrounds into the team, and then also technical backgrounds in the areas that we needed. And then I focused on bringing those people together so that we can create the outcomes that we needed to get to for the business. And of course, I have been very focused on attracting female talent because we didn't have that mix in the team. But also at Ventia, I support our rainbow community. So a number of the things and initiatives that I run, I sponsor within the team, and it gives the digital team an opportunity more broadly, because I am the sponsor, to be part of that as well. So very, very focused. The other thing we do, Kathy, is we do a lot of sort of cultural days as well. And the team often do that and bring that together. So we'll celebrate not just the Australian public holidays, but we'll celebrate other countries and bring that theming into the office. And I think that also helps us learn about each other and other people's cultures, which is really great.
And then finally, Mel, what's next in the pipeline for you and the team? And how do you see Ventia evolving in the next few years under your leadership? Is there any other grand plans you have in terms of digital transformation initiatives?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is just the start, Kathy, creating a culture that people can truly bring themselves to work. I'm really passionate about that. I think we can evolve and really invest in the AI assistant to really support mental health more and more from a digital perspective, and roll that out, not only to the digital team, but more broadly in Ventia, and then also where applicable to our clients. So I think that's great. We will absolutely focus on safety. So we'll continue to invest in trials, but really work through a strategy there around what does that experience look like, and how do we really bring that to life with our clients. Resilience, we're going to continue to invest in cyber and security, which is really important to the team and the clients and to us, and it's part of our safety value proposition in the market. And of course, we'll continue to invest in our technology, and we do need to update some key platforms. So that will be the focus, sort of modernising our technology over the next couple of years, but then also refining. We have a number of applications and refining that down to using the right ones so that we can put more investment into innovation. So I'm really looking forward to it, Kathy. I think there's so many opportunities at Ventia, and we've got a really great opportunity to be part of, digital infrastructure in Australia and New Zealand. So really pleased.
Well, congratulations again to you and the team, and I look forward to hearing more about your other initiatives in the years ahead. Melanie Evans, CIO of Ventia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me.